like this. Who's been sailing in Rutland water? Yeah, or kayaking or anything, been in the water? A couple of you. Okay. You're very pleased to know that the sewage from Oakham ends up in the reservoir. So next time you're in there, just remember that. Okay, basically, part of the treatment process. Do you know Oakham at all?
Yeah.
Yeah? Does anyone live in Oakham and go to college in Stamford? Yeah? So you know, as you're driving into Oakham, on the Oakham to Stamford Road, if you're coming into Oakham on the right hand side, there's the sewage treatment works. Do some of you know where I'm talking about? Yeah? So that's the sewage treatment works for Oakham. Anglian Water provides sewage in Rutland, they don't provide drinking water. And what happens as part of the sewage cleaning process is it goes there, and then the last bit of the cleaning process is that it gets fed through a reed bed into this lagoon over here. There's a load of reeds over here, and the sewage comes in, trickles into there. The reeds do the final filtering and cleaning and taking out the nitrates and stuff, and then it goes into the main water. Alright? So they reckon, going off topic slightly, that the water in Rutland has been recycled about 8 times anyway. So next time you're in it, think about that. It's been down in the toilet 8 times. It's a nice thought. Okay. So yeah. So a little bit about the nature reserve. Okay. Remember the whole site is owned by Anglian Water. This particular end, this western end, which is the nature reserve, is still owned by Anglian Water. But what we have done is we've outsourced the management of it to the Leicestershire and Rutland Wildlife Trust. Okay? Essentially, what's happened is the water company's gone, we don't know anything about wildlife and conservation, that's not what we do. We do providing drinking water, let's get some local experts in to manage the reserve on our behalf. So the way it works is Anglian Water gives the Leicestershire and Rutland Wildlife Trust a lump sum of money every year, and that money is then used to manage the nature reserve as best as they possibly can for conservation. Okay? The partnership that goes on between the two, between the Wildlife Trust and Anglian Water, is very widely used with other businesses as an example of how businesses can work together with conservation bodies. Quite often you find that the two will be in direct conflict, particularly with water companies, because they want to take water out and conservationists want to keep the water. So it's used as an example to other industries and other businesses as to how charity, because the Leicestershire and Rutland Wildlife Trust is a charity, how the charity sector and the business sector can work together and achieve really good results. And on the nature reserve itself, so just this building, or this area, we get between 90 and 100,000 visitors a year. Okay. So those birds there, these are the important birds that got us the designations in the first place. We've got shoveler, which is that thing that's flying in the top right hand corner with the green head. Okay, it's called a shoveler because it's got a big flat beak, looks like it's like a shovel. Then you've got gadwall, which is that grey duck underneath the shoveler. And this thing over here with the cool hairstyle is a great crested grebe. Okay. And Rutland is an internationally important site for those 3 species of birds. In the winter time, not so much now, they're starting to go off, but in the winter time, if you come down here, there'll be over, I think last year we had a record and we had 28,000 birds on the nature reserve. So every month we go out and we count and we do a set count, so we know when they peak, etc. Which is a lot. Okay, it's a lot of ducks and a lot of water birds, so the site is very, very important to them as a whole. Down this end, we utilise a lot of volunteers to help in the day-to-day running. So if anybody's interested in coming and doing some volunteering, you can come and chop logs. If you don't want to chop logs, you can come and work in the visitor centre and talk to customers. If you don't want to do that, you can help us input bird data onto the computer. Okay. And as you can see, we've got about 32,000 hours of volunteering go on here a year, which is worth about £200,000 worth of labour. So it's really important to the management of the reserve, and it's really what helps keep the reserve top notch, basically. One of the other things that goes on and this is kind of linked to ecotourism, is something called bird fair. Okay, so bird fair, as you can see, started in 1989. This year it's 25th anniversary, and it was started up between the Leicestershire and Rutland Wildlife Trust and the RSPB. The manager of the reserve here, Tim Appleton, he's away at the moment, he set this up with the RSPB. And basically what it aims, it's called Bird Fair. I'm not from this area. When I first came to this area, I didn't have a clue what it was. I moved here when I was about 14, and I imagined there being birds in cages. Okay, it's not birds in cages at all. In fact, there are hardly any birds anywhere to be seen because there's too many people making too much noise. All right, but basically what it is now is it's an expo, whatever expo you guys might go to, and it's all to do with, mainly to do with nature tourism and that sort of thing. We get celebrities down every year. They come and do talks. You know, Simon King, Steve Blackshaw, those sort of guys. We get the Live and Deadly crew down for the kids, that sort of stuff. All of the money that's raised from Bird Fair goes directly to a charity called BirdLife International. BirdLife International work to support the protection of birds around the world. Okay, so Bird Fair was set up by some charities to raise money for a charity, and has, well, as you can see, over the last 24 years, has raised over 3 million for BirdLife International. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but in conservation terms, that is quite a lot of money. And over the last couple of years, it's really starting to sort of fly, if you like. Bird Fair itself, as you can see there, it's a 3-day event in August, and it's worth about £400,000 a year to Rutland, just those 3 days. Okay, that's mainly because it attracts, well, we had 25,000 people this year here over 3 days, and they come from all over the world. So a lot of that 400 grand is going into bed and breakfasts and what have you. So again, to the local economy, it's exceptionally important. And it's now a sort of pattern that's been copied. Basically, all that happens is we get all these, you can see, big marquees. You might have noticed when you walk down the drive from the car park, those meadows, those fields that are out there. So they get covered in marquees. Each of the marquees is about the size of one of those meadows. We've got 9 or 10 of them. So if anybody is interested, has any sort of interest in wildlife, not necessarily from a, you go out bird watching, but if you're interested in sort of ecotourism and that sort of thing, you could probably find yourself enjoying a morning or a day walking around Bird Fair and looking at the stores. It is worth looking from an ecotourism point of view. Just because it is international, everybody comes, and there's people selling books and binoculars and cameras and clothes and all sorts of stuff. Okay. Once you bought the ticket, all the lectures and what have you that go on are also free to attend. If you want to find out more, just Google Bird Fair and you'll get directed to their website. Now, something that's fairly new to Rutland is that, which is an osprey. Anyone heard of the ospreys? Anyone ever seen an osprey? No? Yeah, some? Cool. Okay, so the ospreys, basically ospreys are a fish-eating hawk. They became, now globally, they're actually quite a common bird. Okay, so worldwide there's quite a lot of them. But in England and in Wales, they all became extinct because we've got a habit in the UK of liking to shoot anything that we consider a vague predator. So birds of prey, foxes, all that sort of stuff will just get shot. Okay, so they went extinct in the 1800s, mainly because they eat fish and they go down and they catch fish out of people's ponds. So therefore they all found themselves dead. What we found in the early 1990s is that the ospreys, once the reservoir had been built, they migrate, and on their migration to their northern wintering grounds, so up in Finland and Scotland and those sort of areas, they would fly over Rutland and they would stop here and they would fish in the reservoir. So we sort of thought, right, okay, maybe we can get them to come and breed here. And Anglian Water worked with, again, with